Hello, and today I will go through my GCSE Biology master plan. This plan will help you prepare and get the best marks in your GCSE Biology. So this here is a plan on a page. So on the left hand side it lists all of the topics from the specification, and then from the Oxford textbook, which is an incredibly valuable textbook. And then on the right hand side are columns in which you can tick or write in the dates in which you complete each of these topics, so that you have an idea of which topics you've revised or which ones you need to revise more. The column to the right of the topic list labeled self-score should be an initial score once you complete said topic. So if you were to take a test on that topic, what grade would you come out with? Would you say that you get a grade 6 or a grade 7 as an example? By the time you finish with your GCSE Biology, this is what your resource pile may look like. This is a list of the biology resources which I used. So there's the specification from the exam board. You have your own notes which you make in school. You have your revision notes. You have two CGP books. One is a small revision guide and the other is a complete revision guide. The Oxford textbook, a grade 8 to 9 booster workbook by Collins, and also Seneca, which I'll get onto later. So the first resource pictured in the top right corner is the specification, which you can download from the website of your exam board. So for example, the AQA specification, the front cover looks like that, and within the specification is a list of all the topics and subtopics which you would need to know for your exam. During biology lessons, a teacher may get you to do work in which you'd compile into your school notes over the course of your GCSE learning at school. And additionally, I made my own notes from resources which I'll be going into just now. When writing my revision notes, my main resource was the Oxford textbook, which not only has very good notes, which goes into further depth than my teacher did at school, but also numerous practice questions at the end of each chapter, which allow you to practice and perfect your exam technique. In addition, if your school has a subscription to a website called Kerboodle, then you may be able to access this textbook online for free. Another very useful resource are the CGP revision guides, one of which is the complete revision guide, which is a lot more comprehensive, from which you can add to your notes, and also the CGP revision guide, from which if you have an exam and need to do some last minute revision, then the revision guide has all the information condensed into the bare minimum which you need to know. Additionally, there is also the Collins grade 8 to 9 booster workbook, which has numerous practice questions of increasing difficulty for each topic, which allows you to write your own practice answers and compare them to the mark scheme at the back to see how you would fare if you did a test in these topics. Another fantastic resource is a website called Seneca, which covers the entire curriculum in moderate detail. However, I would consider this as an additional resource, while the CGP and Oxford textbooks, which I mentioned earlier, should be your main sources of revision. At the end of the day, what matters is your performance in the exam. So I've taken AQA as an example from their specification. However, this will also be in the specification of other exam boards. And this portrays a brief summary of the exams that you will sit at the end of your GCSE course. Taking the AQA exam board as an example, there will be two papers, each of which is worth half of the GCSE. Paper 1 will cover the first 4 topics in a 1 hour and 45-minute exam, and the types of questions are as listed below. And paper 2 will cover the other 3 topics and is similarly an hour and 45 minutes and worth 100 marks, and has similar types of questions again as listed at the bottom. In the exam, there are different styles of questions which you may be asked, and they're generally denoted by the number of marks that they are worth. For example, you have short 1-mark questions in which it would ask for a brief definition, or it could be multiple choice, and for that you'd give a short and to the point answer. If you're not entirely certain, then you can give more than one answer. For a 2-mark question, then you should give 2 or 3 explanations depending on what the question is asking for. For 3 or 4-mark questions, these tend to ask for a more in-depth comparison or analysis, so you should give as many points in your answer as the question is worth. And finally, you have 6-mark questions, for which you'd be required to write a detailed explanation, and these are the kinds of questions which will mark the difference between average students and grade 9 students. Another thing to be wary of is the listing rule, which is a rule in all exams, in which if you were to write 3 different answers for a question which only requires 2, and one of the answers which you've written is incorrect, then you will lose a mark despite having 2 other statements which are correct. A final tip for when you're going through exam questions is to look at the key word in the question and what is it asking you to do. Is it asking you to explain a process, or to describe, or to compare, or to analyze different things? As exam time approaches, it is important to make effective use of each of your resources, so I found it helpful to list all my resources in an empty list with multiple columns afterwards, as shown here. And then once you complete each resource, you will put in the date on which you completed it, so that you can see how often you used each resource, and which resource that you should spend more time on, as you haven't covered that as much. As you can see, I began my final preparation in mid-April, and I continued using all of my resources until the final exam. On top of this, I also did numerous practice questions and practice papers as a part of my biology revision. The most important thing is to do practice questions, but the question is, where would you find these? The school may provide you some, however there are numerous resources from which you can find more. The 2 main ones which you can use are free exam papers pictured on the right, which is a compilation of all the exam papers running far as back as 2003 or even earlier, along with mark schemes if you want to check your answers to questions. Another amazing website is Physics and Maths Tutor, which, despite the name, covers all the sciences and other subjects for different exam boards. So pictured at the bottom is AQA Biology, however Physics and Maths Tutor also goes through Edexcel and OCR. Another resource, which is a paid-for subscription but is also very useful, is called Save My Exams. What this website can do is it will compile a list of questions for each topic, which you can then print off along with a mark scheme, so that you can compare the answer which you've written to the mark scheme and see what mark you would have gotten if you had written that answer in an exam. In summary, these are the key points that you should take away from this video. Number 1, you must make your own notes after you complete a topic in school. And here's a list of the essential textbooks which you should make your notes from, including the Oxford textbook, the CGP revision guide, Seneca website, and you can find additional questions in the Collins Booster Workbook. Secondly, make sure that you look at the mark scheme where you can find it. So once you do a set of questions from the Collins Workbook, and I'd recommend that you write out the answer, then you can compare your written answer with what's in the mark scheme and give yourself an objective mark and grade as to what you would have got in exam conditions. I'd say that writing down your answer is better because that means that you're producing what you would produce in exam conditions, and you can refine your exam technique, making sure that you keep to the rate of a mark a minute as it would be in an exam. And finally, best of luck in your GCSEs.